Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I thought I'd found the perfect spot, deep in the Montana wilderness, where the pines grew so tall it felt like the sky was caged between their trunks. I set up camp. A small creek babbled nearby, sunlight glinting off the water, and for miles there was nothing but the hush of the forest. No cars, no roads, no other people, just me and the trees. It felt like a secret the world had forgotten. I pitched my tent on a flat patch of dirt, carefully moving aside roots and rocks. I gathered some dry branches and built a small fire, the flames licking the cool night air. I roasted a few marshmallows, staring at the dark silhouettes of the pines against the fading sunset. There was a stillness here that was almost holy. Almost. By midnight, I was in my sleeping bag, half reading a novel and half listening to the night sounds. The wind whispered through the needles, and the creek gurgled softly. It was peaceful, too peaceful. Around 2 a.m., I woke with a start. Something was moving outside my tent. My heart thumped, a rapid drumbeat that seemed louder than the creek. At first, I told myself it was just a raccoon or a deer. The forest was full of life, after all. But then I saw them, or rather, I felt them. Shadows. Slender, tall, humanoid shadows, moving silently between the trees. They weren't animals. No fur, no four legs, no quick, twitching movements. Just long, thin figures sliding between the pines like smoke in the wind. My stomach clenched. My body froze. My breath shallow. I whispered to myself, "It's nothing. Just imagination." But imagination doesn't stop when a shadow pauses and faces you. One of them stopped just at the edge of the firelight, barely visible. I could feel its gaze, though there were no eyes. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. I could only watch as it tilted its head slightly, like it was studying me, learning something about me. Time stretched, every second unbearable. Then they started moving again, gliding along the tree line, disappearing and reappearing like wraiths. My fire sputtered, the flame casting long, dancing shadows of my own that suddenly felt wrong, too stretched, too human-like. I shut my eyes tight, praying that when I opened them, it would be gone. But when I peeked, it wasn't. Not gone, just waiting, watching. I never slept after that. I stayed curled up in my sleeping bag, listening. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of pine needles made my heart leap. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything that might make them leave, but my voice felt trapped, my legs nailed to the ground. Dawn finally came, pale and gray, and with trembling hands, I packed my tent and gear as fast as I could. I didn't eat. I didn't stop. I just wanted out. My eyes kept darting to the tree lean as I drove away on the old dirt road I'd parked on. And then I saw them. At the edge of the forest, where the pines thickened and the shadows were deepest, they were standing. Not moving, not running, just standing like statues carved from darkness. When I glanced away, I thought maybe I imagined it. But when I looked back, they had shifted, a few steps closer, and then they melted back into the trees. Slowly, intentionally. I've been camping all over the United States. In Colorado, in the Rockies, along the Appalachian Trail. I've camped near lakes, rivers, even deserts. I've faced thunderstorms, bears, and winds so cold it felt like knives. But I never went back to Montana. Not the wilderness I chose that night. Not alone. Because the shadows and the pines weren't gone. And I have a feeling they never will be. Even now, when I close my eyes in my apartment hundreds of miles away, I feel them. Watching, waiting, silently. Always. I learned a hard truth that night. The forest doesn't just hide creatures. Sometimes it hides intentions, and some things in the dark don't like to be disturbed. I've never camped alone again, but sometimes when I drive past a dark stand of pines, I catch a glimpse of something at the edge of my vision. Something tall, thin, watching, and I wonder if maybe, just maybe, they follow me home. I don't tell anyone this story. Most would think I'm crazy, but I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And if you ever find yourself deep in the Montana wilderness, alone, with nothing but the pines around you, don't make my mistake. Don't camp too deep. Don't linger too long. And whatever you do, don't look too long into the shadows. Because if they notice you, they'll notice everything. And when they do, it's not going to end well. Story 2. I remember that weekend like a bad dream I can't shake. My friends and I had been planning a backcountry hike in Olympic National Park for months. We wanted solitude, the kind of wilderness where the air smells sharp and the trees seem ancient, like they've been standing there long before humans had names for them. The first day was perfect. Sunlight cutting through the trees, the distant sound of a stream. We laughed, joked, shared snacks, and felt untouchable, like nothing could ruin our little escape. Then the fog came. It rolled in slow at first, like a curtain brushing against the forest floor. By late afternoon, it was a wall. You could barely see 10 feet in any direction. Colors faded, shapes blurred, and the world outside our little clearing seemed to vanish. We found a small lake, calm, mirror-like, reflecting the gray whiteness that surrounded us. We set up camp, the silence pressing in heavier than the fog itself. Night fell faster than I expected, the kind of night that feels like it's closing in on you, not just with darkness, but with some strange, patient awareness. I volunteered to get water from the lake. The path back was slippery, wet from the evening mist. I could barely make out the edge of the trees. That's when I saw him. He was standing at the edge of the fog, perfectly still, just watching. I froze. My body refused to move. I could barely process what I was seeing. He wore nothing special. No jacket, no backpack, just a normal hoodie, jeans, sneakers. But his presence, it didn't belong. My instinct screamed to run, yet part of me wanted to watch him, to figure out what the hell he was doing there. And then, impossibly, he moved closer. Not a slow shuffle, not a careful step. He was just closer. The fog didn't shift, the leaves didn't rustle. He was simply nearer. I snapped out of it and ran back to camp. My friends were sitting by the fire, drinking from their bottles, joking about ghosts and horror movies. I tried to tell them, breathless, terrified, but they laughed. Relax, man. It's just fog. You're imagining things, one of them said. I tried to laugh too, try to shake the icy grip of panic in my chest. But the laughter didn't last. A slow, deliberate knocking came from our tent. Tap, 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 pause tap, tap, tap. The knocking wasn't random. It had rhythm, intention. We froze. None of us moved. Our eyes darted to the trees, the darkness, the fog, but there was nothing. No movement, no figure, just the tent, trembling slightly under the force of the taps. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, grab my backpack, leave this cursed place. But the fear rooted me in place, every nerve screaming. My friends were finally silent too, faces pale, eyes wide, frozen in disbelief. The knocking stopped. Then, from the fog, a whisper, not a voice, just a sound, low, guttural, indecipherable, like the fog itself was speaking. We didn't sleep that night. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a branch made our hearts leap. The fog thickened, curling around the lake, the trees, our camp, until it felt like we were trapped inside a cloud that knew too much. Dawn came, reluctantly. The fog lifted like it had been waiting for something, and then disappeared entirely. I dared to step outside the tent. My friends followed. The lake was calm again, untouched, innocent. But the tree next to our tent, that tree told a different story. Deep scratches ran up its trunk. Long, jagged, claw-like marks. Fresh, raw, the kind of marks you don't make by accident. We checked the ground. Footprints, tracks, anything, nothing. The earth was undisturbed, as if whatever had been there had simply vanished into the fog without leaving a trace. We packed in silence. The walk back to civilization was heavier than the hike in. The forest felt different, like it had changed while we slept. And I knew, even as I sit here typing this, that we weren't alone that night. That figure in the fog, it was waiting, watching, patient. I've tried to explain it, tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, of fatigue, of imagination. But I still feel it sometimes, when the wind howls just right, or the fog rolls in thick over the trees. I swear I can see him, standing at the edge, just watching. And I can't help but remember the tapping, the deliberate, patient knocking, like he knew we were there, like he'd been waiting. I'll never go back to that lake. Not in daylight, not in fog, and definitely not at night. Somewhere in Olympic National Park, in the fog, he's still out there, waiting, watching. And I'll never forget the way it felt to be hunted by something that doesn't belong in this world. Even now, I check my windows at night. I listen for knocks, and I feel the fog curling at the corners of my mind, reminding me he hasn't gone away. Story 3. I've always been drawn to the woods. There's something about the smell of pine, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the way the wind whispers through the trees that makes me feel alive. That late September, I decided to take a solo camping trip to the Adirondacks. The air was crisp, the sky bruised with early autumn clouds, and the forest stretched endlessly, quiet except for the occasional rustle of a squirrel or a crow passing overhead. I found a small clearing near a creek, far from any marked trail, pitched my tent, and started a modest fire. Everything felt perfect, peaceful, until night came. I always keep my fire small when I camp alone. There's a balance you don't want to tip, a line between warmth and danger, between light and the darkness that swallows the woods. That night, The darkness seemed heavier than usual. Around 11, I was adjusting my sleeping bag when I heard it, a soft, almost delicate whisper of my name. A.R. Slan. I froze. My heart started pounding, ears straining. Hello. I called, trying to keep my voice calm, though it trembled. The whisper didn't answer. Only the wind, rustling through the trees, or so I told myself. I convinced myself it was a trick of the mind. I sat there, shoving down the rising panic when the tent flap twitched. Slowly, hesitantly, like someone was peeking in. My flashlight lay across my lap. I grabbed it and ripped open the flap. The beam cut through the darkness, sharp and bright. Nothing, just the forest, gnarled roots and leaning trunks, shadows stretching like fingers toward me. I tried to sleep, telling myself it was just my imagination, that the forest had a way of playing tricks on lonely campers. But then came the footsteps, soft at first, barely audible, yet deliberate, circling the tent. Not a single rhythm, more like many, moving together, yet I couldn't see anyone. I froze, breath shallow. Every hair on my arm stood up. The sound came closer, then around, then behind. I wanted to grab my knife, wanted to scream, but my body refused to move. Show yourself, I yelled, my voice cracking, echoing through the trees. Silence, complete, deafening silence. I sat in that darkness for what felt like hours, heart hammering, waiting for dawn like it could save me. Morning finally came, spilling pale light over the treetops, washing away shadows, but not the dread. I unzipped the tent slowly, expecting nothing. The forest seemed innocent in the daylight, ordinary. Then I saw it, a small, muddy handprint on the outside of my tent. Child-sized, perfectly formed, fingers splayed. The mud had dried slightly, dark against the olive fabric. I froze, stomach twisting. I knew the area. No one, not a single family or child, camped near me. There was no path, no sign of anyone at all. Just me and the forest. I packed my things as fast as I could, leaving behind everything I'd set up. Every step away felt like escape, like fleeing from something that had watched me all night. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see who or what might have been following me. Years later, I still think about that night. Sometimes, when I walk past a quiet park or hear a child's laughter in the distance, I feel that same chill, that sense of being watched, surrounded by invisible eyes. The Adirondacks are beautiful, yes, majestic even, but they hold corners where the living are not the only ones who wander. I've never camped alone there again. I don't know who or what was circling my tent that night, whispering my name, leaving that handprint. And honestly, I'm afraid I never want to find out. The memory is sharp, like splintered wood in my chest, reminding me that some parts of the world are meant to be left undisturbed. Even now, if I close my eyes too tightly at night, I think I hear soft, small footsteps outside my door. And a whisper, just a whisper, Arslan. I never answer.